one of the organizations I'm working with right now, they really have like, yeah, we want membership, but what we really want is we want people in our events. We want people to know who we are.
Yeah.
We want people at our events, members or not.
Welcome back, everyone, to Marketing from X to Z, your podcast about digital marketing for small businesses. We're your hosts. I'm Mike Albuquerque from Bear Double.
And Liz Bachman with Wildflower Social Media.
Liz, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about marketing for business associations and business organizations, like networking groups, chambers, that sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Well, we both have some experience in that, and we've been talking about this topic a little bit, and I think it's going to be a little bit different because as part of being like small business owners, we all interact with these organizations a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we've both had the opportunity to work with some of them, if not several of them.
Yes.
So we got some thoughts to share with you.
Yeah. So I guess a good place to start is what makes marketing for a business association or a business organization like that different than some of the other small business clients that we have typically worked with.
Yeah, then that was a question that stumped me a little bit at first as I was thinking of it, because I'm like, yes, it is different. But the more I thought about it, it's really, there's some strategies in there that make it really similar to B2B marketing.
Yeah.
Right. So in a similar way to where we market our own services, it's essentially we're providing something that would help a business to either improve what they're doing or to improve their reach, improve their conversion rate. The idea with a business association or with an organization is kind of the same, right? You're joining that because you're seeing that as an opportunity to improve what you're doing or to reach more people. And so I think there's a lot of similarities there between that, B2B marketing services, but I don't know. Do you see it the same way?
Yeah, I do. I mean, originally when I was thinking about it, I was like, no, it is different. But actually, with all marketing, you start with your business goals and then you work your way backwards. Like that's just what you do. And so it's the same here. I think the reason that I often think of it as a little bit different is because it's actually like the operational side of trying to get marketing done that is a little bit different a lot of the times in small businesses.
Yeah.
Because at least for the businesses I work with, usually I'm working with one or two people that are like a decision maker that I'm coordinating with to make something happen. And a lot of the times when you're working with a business association or a chamber, you're dealing with an entire committee or board and everybody has thoughts and opinions on it.
That's right.
And I think that makes things a little bit different and a little bit more complicated. So it's not actually the messaging and the execution that goes out. It is the work that it takes to consolidate all of that information and all of those different viewpoints and create something that's uniform. Does that make sense?
It does, and especially when you take into consideration that, those committee members are typically volunteers as well, right? So they're volunteering their time as well, which is like a different kind of engagement because you need to, sometimes work around their actual work hours and all that.
Exactly, yeah. So, and you're also dealing with different levels of expertise and knowledge on organizations. So it's just I think that when I think about the big differences, that is the guy.
Yeah. And I think we're going to talk today a little bit about how, we've both supported some of these organizations before as, as committee members or also just being hired to support them.
Yep.
Right. So what are some of the primary outcomes that you're asked for when, an association comes to you?
Yeah. So
marketing?
I have worked with several different business associations, and it has always been either we want more people at our events or we want more members or we want both. And a lot of the times the people on the board are split between which is more important, which makes it really fun to put together a strategy. But it's membership growth, how many people can we say that we have in this membership, and events. And then once we get into that further, then it becomes higher tier partnerships and getting that sort of deal. But usually those first two are, because it's a lot easier to get somebody to commit to a partnership or a sponsorship when you have the other two in place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like in my experience, it's been a lot about membership growth usually. And I think that's because it's a number game, right? In a way, it's that idea that businesses have with the more leads you get, the more clients and better you can sell. Similar, right? The more members you have, in theory, the better. attended your events are going to be, the more
Mm-hmm.
people are going to take advantage of some of the perks, more visibility for the organization.
Right.
So that tends to be like the primary driver as we're, as I've dealt with some of these organizations.
Right.
And we're going to drive into, you know, how do we get more members,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what are some, why does having the membership part of, membership drive of organizations and the event participation, why they feel so interconnected?
Well, I think it's very, and I think this varies depending specifically on the type of organization and what they have to draw from,
Hmm.
right? Because all marketing does. But when you have low membership, then you don't have that base to fill your events.
Hmm.
But a lot of the times, the way that people get to know your organization well enough to be willing to pay for a membership is by attending an event.
Yeah.
And if that event is poorly attended, then they don't see the actual value, and so they don't become members, and it just kind of like
Uh-huh.
fuels. So it is very interdependent because you need new people coming into the events in order to create the value of the event for the membership and to drive the
Uh-huh.
membership.
Yeah, I feel like engagement is really important for these organizations, but it almost, I mean, it's secondary to growth, right, for the reasons you mentioned, and
Mm-hmm.
also it becomes more of a focus when you hit a wall, right?
Right.
So, for instance, locally here, we have business associations that's focused specifically on that part of organizations.
Mm-hmm.
We have North Cobb Business Association, South Cobb, East Cobb, West Cobb, Northeast Cobb, Central. I mean, there's probably more that I don't know about, but there's a lot of them, and so it becomes more about what is the difference between them,
Right.
right? Because should a business join all of them?
Mm-hmm.
What sets Northeast apart from North or from West, or because
Thanks.
there's all
If you join all of them, you're gonna end up spending like $800 a year in membership fees.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, so I
and
think that now that you put it that way, one of the reasons that my focus has been so much on events is
hmm
because one of the organizations that I do a lot of work with, they don't have a lot of competition in specifically what they offer. They
uh-huh,
are an organization for a specific group of people,
hmm
and there isn't anything else competing.
that's true,
It's more about we need people here.
yeah,
Whereas like when you're doing the Cobb Business Association, there's a lot of competition
uh-huh,
between the different Cobb associations.
absolutely, yeah.
So I think that that's
Yeah, that's very fair because you get that as well. I know there's like, chambers that, operate in like different languages as well, and like,
mm-hmm.
there's less competition there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there's you can always look at competition and say, okay, at some point you're competing just for, corporate money, and all that, but or for time and effort that people put into, but there's no direct competition.
yeah. So that's because one of the organizations I'm working with right now, they really have like, yeah, we want membership, but what we really want is we want people in our events.
Hmm.
We want people to know who we are. We
Yeah,
want people at our events, members or not.
exactly.
And yeah, and that's because we don't need to claim them.
Hmm. So, okay, so I think you've already kind of dove into this, but you think it's correct for all organizations to focus on membership first instead of event first, or?
No, I think it all goes back to the goals of the organization itself.
Hmm.
Like, if you're, like, I think that membership driving for, like, so I did work for the Marietta Business Association,
Uh-huh.
right, in the past. And driving for membership specifically there when it's directly in competition with, you've got, what was it? Ackworth Business Association, Kennesaw Business Association, and East Cobb Business Associations are the ones that are like the closest because they're
Uh-huh.
all within like a 15
Yeah.
minute drive, 15 to 20
Hmm.
minute drive of each other.
Yeah.
Membership makes sense because you need to kind of like
Yeah.
latch them almost
Uh-huh.
to kind of keep them going to your thing.
Yes.
Even though there is a ton of crossover in event attendance between those
A
organizations,
lot.
like so much
Yeah.
crossover. But then looking at I'm just going to say it. Looking at Out Georgia's
Hmm.
stuff, right? Because they are the LGBT Chamber of Commerce for the
Hmm.
state of Georgia. They're not competing with a bunch of other
Uh-huh.
LGBT supporting organizations.
Yeah.
They have them as members.
Hmm.
They have them as membership. But really, what they're trying to foster is a sense of community and
Uh-huh.
an opportunity to meet people who are either in the community or allies. So event attendance is actually almost more important than membership. And they also have tangible benefits for membership that a lot of these other business associations
Don't.
don't have. So if you get them in attendance regularly enough, they probably will join because of access to things like your LGBTBE certification and things of that nature, right? So it's kind of when you look at the business goal and like what the value stands are is how you decide which one is going to be more important.
Yeah, and I think I think the same way, and I think there's some organizations that, like by nature of them, they're more about the broad reach.
Right.
Right? They're trying to get everyone to go to like their monthly luncheon.
Right.
That's the once a month big event that they have. They may have other events, but that's their main focus, right? Either because it drives more membership or more revenue for the organization. And then you have other organizations that are, maybe they're weekly, or there's a lot of opportunities for like one-on-ones or people to go deeper and get education and whatnot. And for those, really, it's more about getting that core group of members and getting them engaged.
Right.
Right. Something like a hard networking group that has a weekly meeting and one person per seat, they can get big, but they have a limit.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Eventually, you run out of seats.
not if you're the Smyrna business BNI, but
Yeah, there's some that get pretty big, but eventually, most of them run out of seats. Right. I mean, start splitting hairs.
It completely makes sense. Yes, I do think it really comes down to, like any business marketing, it comes down to the specific thing that you're trying to accomplish and the things you already have to leverage that too. Like, because also if you think about like the structure inside of these organizations, right? So, the business associations in Cobb County, and I'm speaking specifically to those because I have attended most of them in some degree, been a member in some of them. So
we both have been around.
We've tried and done that, and we've made our choices as where we're going. We're not going to go into that in specifics, but with those, they're charging $25, $30 for the lunch.
Yeah.
Right, and that fee is going to the business association. Whereas out Georgia, you pay for your own meal, but you're not, for most of the events, you're not actually paying a ticket to go to the event. So the event is not in and of itself a revenue driver.
Yeah.
It is, almost every single event is basically a membership drive because you're not charging to go into it.
Yeah.
So I do think that makes a little bit of a difference as well.
That does make a big difference. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's because I know with them, their big thing has been like, we want to have people in their events. Whereas when I was doing stuff with the MBA, it was, we want people to come to our events, but we also want people to, like, we have a specific number that we want to hit on membership because of blank.
Yeah. Okay, so when we're talking about event first marketing, right, and these associations focusing on that, when do you think it works, and when does it actually hurt growth?
So it depends on do you have anything else to offer?
Yeah.
So like it's one thing that I see business associations, chambers, like those sorts of things make mistakes is okay, if the only value you're offering to your members is a discount on going to these events, and then the discount over the course of the year, if you go to all the events, is not more than the cost of the membership, you don't have any value.
Yeah, there's a lot of, we both do this for our business, and like there's a lot of lunches and meetings that are, events that I'll go to without being a part of the organization because there's barely any difference.
It's a $5 discount.
Yeah.
And their membership is, like some of the chambers, like not out, but like some of the other chambers, like their membership is like $500 a year, and the discount to go to the events is $5.
Yeah. So if there's not a benefit outside of that discount, there's not a reason.
There's not a good reason. Yeah.
So there needs to be more membership perks and more reasons, either educational resources or value.
And sometimes these organizations actually have those things, but they're so busy focusing in on events only that you have no idea what they are. And I think that's when events first marketing really gets you in trouble. Whereas if it's very visible what your values, the other value is, or if, there is a substantial difference in you become a member, you go for free, whereas it's $40 then it actually can really help drive membership.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. So when you're looking as an organization, as an organization, what do you think that value kind of means in that sense for for a member who is looking to join an organization, if I can speak? And do you think that there's a functionality kind of affects that, or there's
So I really am interested in your thoughts on this
all right?
specifically, but for me, as a business owner, not as a
Mm-hmm.
marketer, but as a business owner, when I join things like this, typically I'm looking for community and connections.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how I'm going to meet people
Yeah.
that will foster my business, not necessarily directly clients. We had an episode a while back talking about that,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily that,
Yeah.
but like, how am I going to meet people to continue building my professional network, to continue expanding potential opportunities or growth? But that's kind of a hard thing to quantify.
Mm-hmm.
Is like that's typically where I'm looking, but I know there's also so many other options as
Yeah.
far as like perks that associations can have.
Yeah, I look into, again, for myself, I look into either is this going to help me grow my business by giving me either potential clients or, people who can become strategic partners
Mm-hmm.
who are going to be in that room, or is it going to help me improve my business and make it more efficient
Mm-hmm.
or bring me more awareness, right? So from as the standpoint of a business that has helped build websites for different associations, one of the things that we can bring value is by aggregating resources, and either those being like, courses or, on a variety of topics, and having a platform where people can go through and navigate easily through it. Or even like a business directory, because these associations, they typically have really good SEO,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's an easy way for a business to get, they join the organization, they get listed there in the directory, and now they have a website that has a high domain authority directing to
Backlinking.
them, which will help with their SEO. Right? That's a simple benefit and something that I always try to highlight. That actually filling out those little directory things will help your business.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair.
So we talked about resources, events, right? I mean, having an event calendar in there that aggregates the different events for the organization, or even for on the broader community at large, will make your website a go-to place. And
Yeah.
as a member, I'm going to want to engage and interact with that.
I'd love to. I think we have a really, really good example of how that was effective for an
Yes.
organization that we worked with.
Yeah, yeah. For when we were building the website for the CCBB, the Cobb County Business Bootcamp, that was one of the ideas that I had was
Mm-hmm.
we are looking to be an organization that is partnering with all these business associations,
Mm-hmm.
and so why don't we build a website, a section on the website that aggregates all of their events, not just our events, but all of their events.
Mm-hmm.
And what that meant was people now, if they engage with multiple organizations, instead of going to their individual websites, they can come to ours.
Mm-hmm.
And, we kind of become a free resource for them in that sense, which also helps our case, helps our, analytics. And, Google looks at our website and says, wow, people are going over there.
Well, and from a social perspective, I remember I was creating event aggregate lists for events in Cobb County, and they were
Hmm.
our top performing content because
Yeah.
people want to know when and where things are. A lot of the times, I get a little surprised by this because I've been networking for so many years
Hmm.
at this point, which feels very weird to say, but a lot of people like don't know where to go for networking. They don't
Yeah.
know where to go for events. They don't know that that is beneficial.
Oh, yeah.
So, lists that like you even like we've talked about it anecdotally, like people that get on TikTok and share that
Hmm.
there's these things happening in Atlanta or happening, like those posts do well because
Yeah.
people see value in knowing what to do and where to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember like when I started my business and, I decided that I was going to work with small local businesses. I asked a friend of mine and he said,
Mhm.
go to the chamber.
Mhm.
And I went to the chamber's website and I looked and I couldn't figure out which event I should go to.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was our our local chamber, there are so many different subsections of
Yeah.
things that it gets a little confusing if you don't know the language already.
Yeah. And I didn't understand exactly. I didn't know the language, right?
Yeah.
Networking, I mean, when you go from corporate to working in a small business, It is. I mean, the lingo is just completely different. And
Well, also like, okay, so I had a really nice phone call with a recent college grad last
hmm
night, actually. She'd asked me for a job,
hmm
which I unfortunately am not hiring right now, but she was very, very nice. And I talked to her about networking, and she was like, "Well, I've
yeah,
heard them say that, but what does that mean? Where do you
yeah,
go?" And I sent her like a list of all the different options and like why you would go to a certain
yeah,
place and for what reason. But the reason I was able to do that is because I'm so familiar with the business associations.
hmm
The business associations don't necessarily make it easy to know when and
they
where
don't.
things are, especially in advance enough for you to plan to go,
Yeah,
which is almost a thing that I wish, like, not to be mean to anybody, but I wish that we would do that a little bit more in advance so that people can plan, because I think that would also help with retention. But
yeah. That's one of the things that when like we're building things like event listings for some of the events for organizations that I'm part of, we'll include like an FAQ. You
yeah,
know, we'll include an agenda. We'll
of
include a
course.
description, things that help people understand what to expect. Right? What should you bring? Hey, you should bring business cards if it's like a networking style meet. I mean, really, you should bring business cards anywhere, right? But bring enough to pass around to, anywhere from, I don't know, 20 to 60 people, depends on the event, right? But we'll include like some of these tidbits because that helps people feel safer and
Yes.
understand what they're getting into, which helps the marketing be more effective.
Put a dress code in your event description.
Yeah.
Even if it is like come as you are, like
hmm
so that people are not sitting there going, is it fancy?
Yeah.
Is it not
Do I
like
need a tie? Do I need a suit? Do I fit in my suit? That's sorry, that's just me. That's how it plays in my head. That
oh no,
may
my
or may not have happened recently. I mean, end of year is not a good time for suits. A lot of Thanksgiving meals.
oh my goodness gracious. I want to steer some things back on track because I do eventually want to get into some tactics that we've used
hmm
specifically, and I don't know where I outlined that in this list, but that is something I
It's
want to
it's
talk
here. It's
about.
here somewhere.
It's here somewhere. Okay, can you help us get back on where we're
Yeah,
supposed to be
let's.
talking?
I think we're talking about how lack of clarity can impact, member conversion or event attendance, and we kind of that's what we just covered a little bit.
Our lack of clarity on the lack of clarity that
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, great.
But here we go. Let's go into how fast someone should understand the value when they're engaging with an organization. Wait,
Yeah, so there's a component of this that's like in order to get them to engage at all, they need to understand some form of value, like
yeah,
immediately. Like there is like okay, if you just post an event and it's like or you just post a thing that's like we are cool
yeah,
or lunch at noon and
yeah,
right? So like there's a certain level of value that you need to understand immediately.
hmm
But then I also think you do have some time within like those events or within that page to build that up.
yeah.
What do you think?
I like digestible bits, right? So that's how I build websites. It's, people, no one's going to go through on a website and read all the stuff that's in there. And if you're a business association and you're the only game in town, great, then people are kind of forced to go to you. But if you're not, if you're in a, metro area, here, like here in the Atlanta metro, you're going to have a lot of competition. And so you want to highlight those benefits right quick, real quick. And you want to do bullet styles. You want to show photos of the event. I mean, I cannot tell you how many organizations I've talked to that you go to their website and maybe, there's no photos that were taken in the past like 3, 4 years of an event. So that at least you know what the space looks like. Are you going into a space that fits 100 people or is it going to be 10? Because you walk, if you've done networking enough, sometimes you walk in, you're like, oh boy, okay, I'm talking to 6 people today.
Yep, I drove all this way for what?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
so one thing I have for my business associations, I have a drive, like
hmm
a Google Drive that has like the type of event and like if it's a recurring event, then they'll just upload those photos into like that folder over time. So then we'll have like different variations of seasonal ones and stuff like
yeah,
that to use as things come up
hmm
because you should not be posting summer photos in winter if you can help it because they will be wearing a jacket or not wearing a jacket. It just like feels off, even if you don't like think
hmm
about it all the way.
yeah,
Especially when it comes to like social content that's supposed to be a little bit more fresh.
uh-huh,
I don't know if you have to like change your website photos out like that necessarily, but I don't
uh-huh,
know. But from a like creating the event and like posting it on social, like it
hmm
should hopefully be seasonally appropriate if you can
Yeah.
manage it. And then, but like what we'll have is like, it'll be like the year, and then it'll have like the different types of events so that you have a log to go back to for those real photos. Because that's something that they really do struggle with, is because that real photo thing is going to help make more people feel more comfortable attending.
Yeah, I mean, it just gives them credibility,
Yeah.
right, to have that. And that's like one of the big things with again, we talked about how the associations, it's volunteer work, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of different cooks trying to achieve different things. And sometimes not all things get done, right?
No, of course
Not
not.
so if you can have someone who can be the quarterback and organize all that and make sure to put it forth in the marketing, it's going to help it be more effective.
Yeah, like typically what I've done is I've created folders that I've shared specifically with the people on committees or boards that are in charge of specific things. And like when I know they're coming up, I'll send an email. It's like, hey, don't forget to snap a photo during this and put it into this folder.
Yeah.
And like as the marketing person, I am quarterbacking those requests, but I'm not necessarily collecting the assets. So
Yeah.
it's a teamwork sort of thing, which marketing is in
Yeah.
general, but
Exactly.
it's a team sport.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about some specific elements. We talked a little bit about them, but things that these associations and organizations typically have are on their website or as part of their marketing is event calendars, member directories, resource libraries. What goal do you think those play in, like as far as growth and retention of members?
So the number one complaint I hear from business owners is I didn't know that that event was happening. I didn't know that was coming.
Yeah,
So having events calendars, huge deal for people
yeah.
to be able to up to date events calendars, big huge deal for people to be able to reference,
Maybe allow people to subscribe to them. Just saying.
or subscribe to a newsletter that sends out a monthly or weekly blast with the things that are coming up that week.
Yes.
We've actually seen huge success with that without, and people I know when things are now. I know which ones I can go to, and we've even done segmenting based on the cities that things are happening. So people who have clicked on the link in a specific city will send them stuff that is targeted specifically to that.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so it's just because it's statewide, so like it's a little different than like Marietta. Well, probably everybody's in or around Marietta.
Yeah.
Versus like Georgia, there are people in Savannah, there are people in Macon, like,
Yeah.
and they're probably not coming to Atlanta for lunch.
You never know.
You never know. You never know. But like,
Short 4 hour drive. It's the most boring drive in the world to Atlanta.
so I think that that's a big one. I honestly don't like. I know member directories are helpful from a linking perspective and an authority perspective.
Yeah.
I don't leverage them as much as I should.
I think most of them are poorly built too.
I think that,
There's
yeah.
that. I mean, I was going through one of a local association the other day, and I was like, "Oh, search is broken." Okay, all right. Oh, category filters are broken. Okay, I can't type the name. Like so,
So
a
they
lot
need
of
to be usable if you're going to do it.
they need to be usable. I think there's a couple of different types of directories, right? There's the directories that are just like your photo, your business name, title, contact info. And I've seen those used in a couple different ways. Like, generally it's you become a member of an organization, you get that. And as long as you have a link in there, it does help with SEO. There is an organization that's a client of mine, or they're very specific in a specific industry. They work in the trades, right? And everyone in that organization works in the trades. And we built a website for them that is purely a directory. And that is so that when it comes time for them to refer someone out in that organization, they don't need the business card of that person. They don't need to remember what's their phone number, what's their website. They just say, go to this website, it's there.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I trust.
Yeah.
And so that's when something that is functionality takes the role of, really being a tool for, those members who are looking to reform our business to each other. Now, that's a different type of organization than a business association. On the CCBB one, when we built the member directory, our goal was to make that be work a little bit more than some of the typical directories you see out there. So we allowed room for people to post examples of their work. Right, so you can go in. You don't actually just get a photo; you get like a slideshow. So you can go through and include, like, if you do, like logo work, you can include that in there. If you have photos, you can include a few in there. Links to socials and all that. So you can. We even have a contact form that people can fill out on the directory that emails you directly if you're not comfortable having your email or contact info out there. So they have different effectiveness depending on how it's built, right, and how it works.
And that's why you should have Mike build your stuff.
Yeah, always.
Always. Okay, what about resource libraries?
I feel like resource libraries are completely underused
Yeah.
and underappreciated in some ways, but I think they could be a big reason why people would stick to an organization. I mean, if you think about it a little bit outside of the industry, that's the reason why in the past couple of years we've seen a shift from courses being sold as buy my course. It costs X $100 to subscribe to my course and pay me a little bit every month or every year, right? Because typically those have assets in there that people just kind of want to reach to.
Mm-hmm.
And you can build a resource library for an organization that behaves exactly like that, that has trainings or that has downloadable resource or stays up to date on certifications. I mean, we just seen some resources that were shared in one of the organizations that I'm part of that were just, very effective and just I wouldn't have known about them
Yeah.
if I hadn't seen it there.
Yeah.
So I think they're underutilized, and they're a great thing to market out as well. Hey, you want to learn how to do this? You want to learn how to get a business license,
Mm-hmm.
right? Here's where you can get a free resource, and here's how you can, here's a walkthrough of how to do that.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So I think they're a great benefit.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think a lot of organizations use them. I know that there are some chambers that are trying to build them right now that I've talked to, but
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of organizations use them, which is
Yeah.
I need to build one for my company, not an organization, but that's a whole other conversation.
Okay, but and I think part of it leads to the next question, right? Because what happens when you have all these things, but they're kind of hard to get to?
Well, people don't like to do things the hard way. So like if
Yeah.
you make it hard to do, unless somebody really, 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 really wants it, which
Hmm.
generally that's not the case.
Yeah.
When you create friction, people go find something that it doesn't have it.
Yeah.
That's I mean, at least that's been my experience. Is like if like there's a okay, here's a great example.
Hmm.
There's a business association that's very close to where I live. I do not live in Cobb. I live like 40 minutes from Cobb. Okay? I do not live here.
Yeah.
But the ones that are close to me, when I originally, and I think they've improved in the last year or so, but when I originally started trying to find them,
Hmm.
I could not figure out how to use anything or like go to anything. And so I found that it was easier for me to drive 35 minutes out of my way on a almost everyday basis than it was to dig through the back end of a website
Yeah.
to try and find something that wasn't clear.
Uh-huh.
Because there were like 3 associations that are like a 15-minute drive from me, and I've never gone to any of their things because I can't figure out when they're supposed to be. And I am tech literate. This is not a
Bring your grandkid in to show you how to use your phone.
I'm gonna call Redford and just be like, Redford is my dog.
Not her grandkid.
No, not my. God, that would be some weird math.
We're not that far south.
Yes, we are. That's the
I
thing.
know.
Yes, we are.
Okay, let's bring us back here. Okay, now I want to talk about something that's in your realm.
Okay.
Paid ads.
Yes.
So, as a way to drive event attendance, let's talk about paid ads and how they can work, either as like a soft membership funnel or somewhere to drive up attendance, bring awareness for the organization. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts there?
Well, so as we're filming this right now, we are doing this for a client that we share.
Yep.
So, and just to give you
Yeah.
a little bit of a, okay,
Go
so
for
like, yeah, so to tell you a little bit about what we're doing, so we have some free events that are coming up. One of them we're running an ad campaign for right now at a pretty low spend. We're doing a $20 a day, $20 a day spend. It's a free event. Now that's important to note here because anytime you charge money for something, you're going to see an increased cost per conversion because of course you will.
Yeah.
Like that's like if you're asking somebody to spend money, that's more friction. So it's going to take more to get them to do it.
Exactly.
But we're seeing about a $4 per conversion into that event, which is not bad.
Yeah.
And we started running this ad 2 days ago,
Yeah.
2 or 3.
And it was an event that had been out there for a little bit, and we had done some.
We had 6 signups.
Yeah, we had 6 signups, and I don't know if it was really 6 signups or more like 5 or 4, but it we just weren't getting the traction we needed.
Right. And
With it.
so what we did is we're running 3 different variations on the same messaging. As like because it's an ad, but it's also a test because you should be doing both whenever you're no matter what organization. And I'm sure we will do an episode on this because I have such a soapbox to get on about that. But what we're seeing is driving people into that free event, and that free event is one of the ways that the organization itself is showcasing value. So from my understanding, the structure of the event is we're going to be providing the value, and then at the end there's going to be kind of a call to action to join.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is a soft funnel into membership while still giving really good value to people for free. So that's kind of how that functionality is.
Yeah, it's not one of those come to this event so that we can sell you on joining the organization. It's like you leave with like a tangible outcome.
And that's also a very important thing for events marketing, because if you don't do it that way, nobody's going to want to be your friend. That is a very good way
do you want to hang out? Let me tell you about my MLM.
If you're not sure how that works, please refer back to our word of mouth marketing episode. But no, it's very much it's very, very much you're providing the value to give that taste of the experience to get that good first impression, which makes it worth the payment to convert into that. Because we're also separately running a membership ad campaign, which does have so there's a little bit more friction in that campaign than there is in the events one, right? Because what you're seeing is they have to submit an application to get into this membership. And the application is not extensive, but it's not, hey, click this to sign up on Eventbrite.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than that. And so although we've gotten more leads off of that style campaign, our conversion has not been as high.
Yeah.
So our cost per is a little bit higher on directly going into membership. And if we had a higher cost membership, then that would be even higher. But what we've done to mitigate that, which I highly encourage you to do, is we have people using instant forms to sign on to our email list so that we can remarket them for events. We can remarket them for things like that. So we're building that list, and that's been one of the things that's been really, really effective also for driving event attendance, is leveraging a list, deliberately building and leveraging a list of people who have opted in, not just taking the business cards of people who have not opted in and putting it on your list. Do not do that. But people who have opted in and leveraging it that way. So it's kind of this ecosystem that we've created, and I've gone way off base on this question, but but that's what I think is so important about understanding how all these pieces work together.
And in this is the case where like we're leveraging the event as being like the entry point for members, right? In the organization. And I mean, it's kind of like a low commitment thing, right? I mean, why do you think it works so well?
Well, because it's low commitment to spend no money and go spend an hour or two learning something.
Yeah.
Now, an hour or two.
And that's where the value comes in that you mentioned, right? It's not that you're not coming to get sold, you're getting value. So value for free, and then.
Yeah, so it's very much, it's kind of like a really good hook.
Okay, yeah.
Is if a little is good, more must be better. Type of idea. But that means that it's really important that you invest the time in building an event that actually makes anybody want to spend more time with you.
Yeah, and I mean the conversion of people who come to the event and become members is very high. Is very high. So.
And we knew that before we started running paid ads to get people to the event too.
Yeah.
We knew that if we can get people into the event, that we will get more members.
Yeah. So if an organization creates an event that is designed, right, to provide value and to, is aligned with their overall, with what they're doing as an organization, then I think that's a great opportunity to then drive up membership.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, now let's talk about let's flip the script a little bit and talk about when an organization has something like a large email list that they can how they should leverage it versus when they have a smaller paid membership base.
Yeah, so this is I'm gonna take the email list part first,
Mm-hmm.
because this is something that I see all the time, and it's not just in organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like it's definitely in organizations, but in all businesses, we collect all this information that we don't use it.
Yeah.
So especially with an organization that's been around for years, right? You're going to have a substantial amount of data that you can leverage that you don't have to come up with from scratch from something like a paid ad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am a big fan of using paid ads, but if you've got an email list with 4 or 5,000 people and you've
Mm-hmm.
only got 300 members, but you haven't sent an email in 8 months,
Mm-hmm.
well, there's some pretty low hanging fruit there that you should be leveraging.
Yeah.
I mean, like, seriously,
Yeah.
because a lot of the times it's because people fell off or an auto renew didn't work
Uh-huh.
and things of that nature. Like, that's all very much something that happens.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, what I'm doing for one of the organizations that I'm working with that we're seeing, like, benefits, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we're sending a monthly blast with all of the events coming up in the month. That also has value in it, right? So like if there's any grant opportunities that we have coming up or like things like that, like it's got value in addition to the events that
Uh-huh.
gives us that we're giving access to. And then at the beginning of each week, we're sending an email blast that just has the events for that week in it. Just like a quick reminder of, hey, you can come do these things.
Yeah.
And that works well for us because we've got a newsletter of like 5,000 people on it.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't we?
And odds are that like the people who have signed up for that newsletter, they at one point, I mean, they if they came in touch with the organization, they are networkers,
Yeah.
right? And so they are going out there
Mm-hmm.
and going to events. And if they're not coming to that organization's event, it's likely due to a lack of awareness. They
Yeah.
need to be able to plan for it. They need to, know what to expect, know when it's happening, and all that. And I think that's what you tap onto.
Yeah, so I think with an email list, it's definitely like use it, and then also bother building it.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
collect that information. When you've got a smaller paid membership base, a lot of the times with that, like your people who are paying to something, if you can remind them to participate in the value, they're either going to use it or they're going to stop being in the organization. And either one,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously we'd rather them use it, but like you want people to feel like they're getting what they're paying for so that they tell other people that they are getting the value of what they're paying for and growing it in that manner.
Yeah.
So like and I think that's like a lot of how like BNIs and Power
Mm-hmm.
Cores and stuff like that, who are more expensive
Yeah.
than some of these organizations that we're talking about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a difference between an organization that you pay $100 a year to be a part of, which is
Mm-hmm.
very common, versus an organization you pay $500 or $800
Yeah.
or like I'm in one that I'm paying like $1,200 a year to be a
Uh-huh.
part of.
Yeah.
And if I was not being actively engaged, I would not
Mm-hmm.
pay that amount of
Yeah.
money to do it.
It's a big investment.
Yeah. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I'm rambling.
No, no. Like my mind is coming to consistency when it comes to like communication on these events because I think
Yes.
that's a big thing too,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like I think I mentioned that I was at an event this morning where uh, someone was asking about an email, right? There
Mm-hmm.
was a routine email that you send out, and one of the people there say, "Hey, we're not getting that email anymore." And the person who was sending emails said, "Oh, well, we weren't getting like, we weren't getting like engagement. People weren't responding to the email, so I stopped sending it." And it
Mm-hmm.
was an email that brought awareness to like different things that were happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though he wasn't getting replies back direct to it, people were using that as a way to stay in
Mm-hmm.
touch and know what's going on, and they were missing that.
Yeah.
Right now, that was, uh, I mean, it was a blast, but to a small group.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine you probably see a lot of that too when it comes to like the larger groups, email blasts. I mean, we like patterns, right? Our brain loves to have predictability. And if we can sign off something and say, hey, I know there's a sale here when there is one, or I know there's a membership drive here when I get that email. I know there's an event when, the notification comes, then, it's what triggers it.
No, I completely agree with you. And if from an organization perspective, if you're evaluating your return on investment, I totally understand if you're not getting metrics that you're able to track back, then you're going to feel like you're screaming into the void and wasting resources and assets. So if you are an organization and you're bothering that, check out some of the free or low cost like mail softwares instead of just sending out something from your Gmail that's like to a grouping, so that you can see like open rates
Yeah.
and if people are clicking on things, so that you don't make an assumption that nobody cares just because you're not getting a response.
Exactly.
Like if that's something that's going to happen, like there are free and low cost, especially for those smaller groups, that you can do to know, like, you know what, nobody responded, but they clicked this.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. I just, because we got blast emails when we were in the same BNI chapter. I don't think I ever once responded to one,
No.
but I read them all.
Yeah.
I read them all. They were helpful. I just don't feel the need to reply all and say thanks.
Thanks. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just rude.
That's your takeaway from this episode. Maybe Liz is rude.
If it's taking you this long to figure that out, I don't know what to tell you, man.
All right, this is now time when we get to wrap up this episode. So,
Yes.
Liz, do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want people to take away today, other than that you may be rude?
God. All right. Make sure that you evaluate what you have before you start charging at the issue. One of the things about these organizations, because they're volunteer based, is that you have board turnover and things like that. So you look at a problem and you go, all right, so we're just going to dive at it. Make sure you look to see, do you have an email list? Do you have any budget that you can allocate to paid ads? Do you, what are you currently doing? Board member audiences. Do you have a board member that you can leverage, like sharing and things like that, which we didn't even really get into in this episode, but like making sure that you evaluate what you have and then addressing it. Don't just start trying to patch fix things, because that won't work.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's know what the perks of your membership are.
Yeah.
Right? Know exactly what you're offering to your members, and then highlight it. What do I get for becoming a member? Make me want to join the organization. Make me see the benefit other than just the events. Like, the events are a big part of it, but tell me about what else you're doing, or tell me about the people in the room that are going to be in the events. So highlight the membership perks.
No, I think that's good. I did know he was going to say that, which is why I didn't say that. But,
Yeah, mine was a better one.
Yours was a better one.
Well, and with that, we're done. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time.